Welcome to Square Read Podcast, everybody. This is just a short, quick hitter to give some bad news if you haven't heard, to share a couple of stories, both with Jim and myself. Bobby wanted to be here, but his role as a big boss man, where he's at in real life, he has reviews to do for a couple of his workers, so he can't join, but he wants to. And he gives his condolences and well wishes to Hulk Hogan family. So if you haven't known, an hour ago it was released that Hulk Hogan died of cardiac arrest. And it's a shame, and it's one reason why Jim and I wanted to do the Squared Ring to begin with, is for the stories of, in case of things like this, where legends who reshaped wrestling, like Hulk Hogan did, for good or bad. We really don't care about your politics on it, but it's about personal stories, and to say, from everybody here, our condolences to Hogan's family.
Yeah, definitely. Because, since day one, if anyone asks me why I got into pro wrestling, it's always been about Hulk Hogan. Hogan, I always said my father looked like Hulk Hogan. And as a young child, in that head of mine, they were almost like the same person. And my dad loved watching wrestling, and his favorite was Hulk Hogan. And in my eyes, he was my father, so my father figure liked him, and of course, he became mine. And
And you had the pleasure of being a bodyguard for him once, didn't you?
Yeah. So during anytime wrestling comes to towns, they always end up hiring extra guys. Normally they're wrestlers or something to do with wrestling. And there was a night that I was at South Broadway when a representative of TNA came in there and said that they had TNA was, of course, coming to town. There was a big pay-per-view, and they were going to do some things leading up to the pay-per-view. A fan fest was one of them. Hogan came in and did it was like a mustache beard contest that they did in St. Louis. It was kind of crazy, but whoever had the biggest mustache and allowed them to shave it won the contest. But needless to say, I jumped at the occasion, not knowing that Hulk Hogan would have been the guy. But just to help TNA out, who wouldn't? Any wrestler in the business would love to do extra work for any federation, whether it be WWE or TNA. But it was TNA at the time. And so they came to town, and they got us all there. And they signed us with, wrestlers. And throughout the day, it could change because I didn't start out with Hulk Hogan. I started out with Angelina Love, who was a TNA knockout. But at some point in time, I got switched to Hogan. And man, you're talking about a dream come true. They say never meet your idols, but I always say meet your idols. Everyone has a bad day, and you just could meet them on their bad day. But Hogan, every time I met him, which was multiple times, he was not having a bad day. He was always friendly, very open, had great conversations. So basically at the Fan Fest that TNA was having, I stood next to Hulk Hogan, and I was kind of director of his line, and kind of watching out for him all at the same time. So it wasn't no extra work on the pay-per-view. It was no extra work, cameraman or anything like that. I was actually brought in to stand there, make sure nothing happened, and make sure the lines got through. Everyone who paid to see Hulk Hogan, got their stuff, which was still extremely good for me, because I got to carry conversations on with him. And at one point, I even told him, I said, a couple crazy things I have of yours is, your Thunder Lips character from Rocky 3, I have that mint on card. And he kind of laughed about it because he said it's like one of his very first wrestling figures, besides that hard to find Japan wrestling figure. Poppy, I think is the name of that company. But I also told him, I said, I have your Thunder Mix blender, which he always joked about and laughed about because him and Charles, no, it wasn't Charles Barkley. Who was that other boxer? George Foreman. Him and George Foreman had the same agent, and Hogan didn't answer one of the calls from this agent, and this is coming from him, but George did. But by the time Hogan got back and called the agent was calling to give him licensing over two things, either this Thunder Mixer or this grill. And, since he didn't answer the phone and didn't call him back right away, George had already answered and selected the grill. And so that left Hulk Hogan with the Thunder Mixer. Of course, everyone knows about the George Foreman grill that, sold millions and millions of pieces and got them a lot of money. And unfortunately, Hulk Hogan's Thunder Mixer didn't do too well. And, most of the time you can find it, back then you can find them at like the dollar bin stores and stuff. So he really shot himself in the foot with that one. And he jokes about it and laughs about it all the time. But, he told me,
I don't know if
bring
the
him.
grill would have been as good as the Hulk Hogan grill.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's all about marketing,
Yeah.
But so he told me, he goes, bring him back by tomorrow, and I'll autograph him for you. And sure enough, I brought them both, and I got them autographed, and they're proud pieces that sit in my living room today. Along with, I showed it off here before, I got a big yellow wrestling boot that was autographed by him, and it's certified and everything. But then I got to meet him again with him and his son. His son, this is before Nick got in a whole bunch of trouble and was doing that drifting racing. He did it in Granite City one time, and they stayed up here in Fairview Heights. And it was just the right place, right time. He was eating at TGI Fridays. My wife was working upstairs at a comedy club. And she told me he was there, so I was like, "Oh, I'll swing in and see if he remembers me." And it was like nothing had like time didn't elapse. He remembered me. He was shooting the shit with us, and both experiences. And one experience lasted the whole weekend, and then the other one just was that night. But both experiences I've had with Hogan, I am so glad that I met my idol because he was exactly what I wanted him to be. And I know he's gotten some hot water with racist remarks and other things, sex tape and all that.
And we've taken him to task for multiple things on our podcast, but that just, for us, we want to always be, I don't know, fair to everything and everybody. That includes the good and the bad laundry. But none of that matters when the man passes away from his family.
Right. And what I was leading to is, he's had, some people's got a bad reputation. I mean, he had a bad reputation for a period of time, but we all make mistakes and we all learn from the mistakes. And, Hogan is a regular person, and he's dramatically said he was sorry for both things and very apologetic. And that's probably why still today so many people are in mourning for him. Because as of yesterday, we had heard that he was doing great and then everything was fine. Good spirits. He was at home healing. And then just out of the blue, we get this. So it's just totally a shock.
And for me personally, I don't have any personal stories with Hogan. outside of the reason why I call people brother all the time is because I grew up with that man. So that's the part that he affected with me anyway, is the vernacular I use with people when I'm messing with them or playing with them or just trying to get them to laugh, calling them brother. It's just a part of what I say. It's a part of who I am. And never said the word before, but I've always said it out. And I know occasionally when we have personal attachments to pro wrestlers and legends that have passed, is we'll do these little things, and it's one of those things. It's
Yeah.
it's horrible, and I agree with you when people say don't meet your idols. Well, that's different from you. I always wanted to be Jimmy Hart, and I've met Jimmy and hung out with him many times, and he was always great and exactly what I expected him to be. And the same thing with Hogan. Every year we see him, even if I go multiple years without seeing him, he still remembers my name, knows who I am. Same thing with Jimmy Valiant. Same thing. Remembers
Yeah.
who I am. Always gives me a big, huge hug. Even as frail as he is, he's still strong as hell.
Uh, Man, yeah, it's just it's a terrible day for wrestling, and he was the first one that crossed barriers. Before him, wrestlers weren't in movies, um, and for him to be in Rocky 3, which was such a blockbuster of a movie, and then all of his other ones that you know. Suburban Commando and
Yeah.
stuff like
Mr.
that.
Nanny.
No Holds Bar. As a kid, I loved the movie No Holds Bar. I know it was technically a flop, if you want to say it, but it was a great movie. Rip 'em. It was just great. Uh, but yeah, definitely a very sad loss today. Um, but also, at least he's going to be remembered for who he was and what he's done in the world. We're not going to see him old and even more crippled. Um, yeah, the good die young is what I'm trying to say. But yeah, horrible day.
Probably why I'll live forever.
Yeah, just Godspeed to his family. You know, I know the Hogans weren't really doing great as a family as of late. The daughter's not talking to Hulk or the wife or the mother, and maybe this will actually bring the family closer together too. Um, but yeah, Godspeed to all of them, and to everyone around the world, because he affected everyone. I mean, he was a global sensation. So
Yeah, he changed the face of wrestling, like we said, good or bad. He changed the face of.
definitely, yeah. So him and some other ones. Man, we just lost Ozzy yesterday. Now Hope today. Um, it's just been a crazy week. One of
Yeah,
the
it all
guys
started
from
with
Cosby
broken in
Show.
today.
But at least him and Macho Man and Andre the Giant, they're probably up there right now. Having a great match up there, if not looking down and being happy with what wrestling is doing now, because it's definitely a $1 billion business, unlike it was back then, where the wrestlers were working 350 days a year, and no guaranteed pay. These guys work their asses off for the current wrestlers to get this, less than 200 days a year, guaranteed money, regardless if they're hurt or injured. So these guys paved the way for all of us in the wrestling world. So definitely be missed. Definitely sad. Um, just horrible day, but I'm sure we'll get through this. And I just don't know. Don't know.
It's a sad thing, but before we go, next week we have Harley Race the Sun coming on, so people tune in and check that out. We probably will talk a little bit more, even with Justin, Harley Race the Sun on, more Hulk Hogan stuff.
I'm sure we
Because
will, because there's
yeah,
a
because
great
they had
story
to
about.
cross paths.
Yeah, there's a great story we'll have him tell about Harley pulling a gun on Hogan. You know, it's out there. Everyone knows it, but to hear it from Justin would probably be awesome. But all right, thank you guys for tuning in. Sorry for giving you the bad news if you haven't heard, and you heard it from us first. You know, the passing of Hulk Hogan. You know, may him rest in peace. Anything else, Nate?
That's it. It's just a shame. And unfortunately, as the days go by and the guys get older, the punishment of the past always comes, the bump card always comes due.
Yeah. Yep, that's true. Because he was just having his back fixed, trying to get his back fixed so he didn't have no pain in the back. And I'm assuming that's probably what caused the heart attack, is the complications of the back surgery. But all right, we're all at our day jobs, so we got to make this quick. But thank you
Yep.
guys for tuning in, and we'll get back to you next week with Harley Race's son, Justin. All right,
See you guys.
try to get through this, and rest in peace, Hulk Hogan. See
Yep.
ya.
Rest in peace. Rest in peace, brother.